rocking the boat.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
What? Are you surprised that I'm here on a Friday? After taking a couple of days off, of course I'm here on a Friday. What's up, everybody? How's it going today? Happy to be here. Only show on the channel today. Have not been here the last 2 days. Looking forward to getting into a few things. Got a full lineup of the NBA. Lots of juicy little things happening around the NBA playoff time. Kings, we have not talked about it here. I also have an interesting question for all of you. I want to see where you're at with this roster. So we're going to do a little exercise. If you're down, we're going to get into that later in the show. It is Royal Rumble Friday. You know what that means?
His name and he appears.
That means Adam is going to be here at some point. We'll talk some WWE, but Royal Rumble means you can get in on the show anytime you want. Scan the QR code. Hit the link in the chat. Man, your voice, it's like runners or, like people that work out. You miss a couple days. It's weird stepping back to the mic. It's weird getting the voice back in check, but I'm here for it. Thanks for being here. We get started on the other side. Oh yeah, by the way, if you want a few extra bucks, let me know if you see this guy. He's wanted, apparently, allegedly. We'll see. Welcome to the King's Court.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now.
Are you ready?
I don't know that I am. I am ready on a Friday. How's everybody doing? What's up? Looking forward to the weekend of basketball. You got some hoops tonight that we can talk about. Is this Boston, New York series for real? Y'all really feel like the Celtics are on the ropes? I'm not sure that I'm there yet, but I do like what New York is doing. The Kings coaching staff filling out. We knew about BJ Armstrong. I was just most concerned when I heard about BJ, if he could still run point. I mean, why not? Assistant GM / point guard? I think we could work that out. A lot of other stuff. The Draymond Green thing I want to get to. Buddy Hield, got some thoughts on that. And how about the NBA issuing a warning to Tyrese Halliburton for his celebration after hitting that dagger in game 2? I can't, I just don't get the NBA. Like, Adam Silver, please explain your formula to me. Explain it to me. We're worried about gestures like that. Can you imagine if Adam Silver was the commissioner of the NFL? Seriously. The celebration's there. The guy does this. That's where we're at, where you get a warning for that? Come on. What are we doing? So what's up? Thanks for being here. What's up, David? Good to see you. So we roll in on a Friday. Rhino, how come episodes are not getting posted on Spotify? I will address that here in a few minutes, but that will be starting up again. What's up, Tristan? Thank you. It's good to be back. I mean, it felt like the longest, shortest 2 days. Like, I really did not stop moving the last 2 days, but happy to be in this seat. Oh, and acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me.
I can do that. Thank you. Get those thumbs up, retweets, likes. Would really appreciate it. Goes a long way. With the channel, lots of stuff going on with the channel. Not only are we going to keep bringing the content here, but we are going to keep expanding the content. So keep a lookout through the summer. We're here. Grant's been here like almost every day, like 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock. He's around. So we are here for it. Stooge Camp. What's up, Rock? Thank you, MC. MC, how's it going, man? Hope you're doing well. What'd you do with that Bibby shirt, by the way? How much is the reward? I don't know, but they probably, you notice the reward. It says wanted alive. Probably to call Kings games. That would be my guess. Preferably alive. So we'll get an idea of what that reward's like. I'm sure there's a big Bennett steak somewhere in that reward. Definitely. Flores, what's up, man? Thank you for coming back. Frank, my man. Okay. I was going to open the show talking about Frank for a second. I got my start actually before Grant with Frank. That's real talk. That is real talk. Rhino, the sports guy, with Frank. So Frank's my brother from Boise, but Frank, man, you're killing me. Like what you put out on Friday, and thank you for retweeting the show, Frank. These tweets with like 90 people in them. Thank you for occupying my entire X timeline for the rest of this weekend. You know I love you, brother. Hope everything's good. In Boise, more control is coming. Okay, Rock, I'm trying to understand where you're at, but let's see. No offense, rather J. Will as a backup point guard than BJ. I bet you J. Will could still play the game a little bit. What's up, Paul? How you doing? We're already at 106 check-in so far today on a Friday. A lot going. I just got to ask this question. I took in a decent amount of Simone. What's up? Been away for a while. Back with you from Melbourne, Australia. Hell yes, that gets the ultimate.
Acknowledge me.
Welcome back to the party, Simone. It's been a minute. It is. So you guys are getting ready to go into winter time right now in Melbourne. And Simone, are you team Vegemite? I'm just curious. For those that don't know what Vegemite is, you're lucky. But are you team Vegemite? The playoffs have been excellent. They have been so good so far. A lot to talk about with the playoffs. Wolfie, what's up? Good to have you back. Good to have you back. Has there been a more talked about 5th round pick in the history of the NFL draft than Shedeur Sanders? Look, I think he's a really good player at the end of the day. We've talked about it extensively on the channel, but I was checking out the X and all these videos of him bouncing around camp and cameras in his face. It's like, bro, you're a 5th round pick. This whole thing about the number, you are a 5th round pick. And I get that you've got Joe Flacco and some other guys. You could win the job. Deshaun Watson, don't even start me on Deshaun. But it's kind of weird. And you knew that's what you're getting with him. I hope the play lives up to the hype. But, I mean, they got a Pope in 3 votes, 2 days. And you took 3 days to get drafted into the NFL? What's going on? And by the way, congratulations to the new Pope. I know this is not that type of forum. The coverage from that was insane. Like literally insane. Listen to what this newscaster asked the guy on the ground, boots on the ground. He is in the crowds, right? Talking to people. Listen to how he gets addressed.
I'm wondering if you could stick a mic in somebody's face and see what they have to say.
Can you stick a mic in somebody's face and see what they have to say? Frank, I can already hear you typing out signed Toby, but come on. Kind of reminds me of Bronny in terms of the coverage. Yeah, completely different though. I think the difference there is the nepotism had the reverse effect on Shadir. So PK, yeah, you guys are trying to call him out, trying to smoke him out. Where is PK? Where is PK? Uh, anyways, what's up? All right, let's get this thing on the road. Good to be back. If you want to call the show, call the show. Would love to have you at any point. You've got playoff basketball tonight. Man, the Pacers. Could they have gotten any luckier? Timing is everything in the NBA. Cleveland has been unreal this entire season, and now Cleveland is so incredibly banged up to the point that I am thinking this ain't going to go well. If the Pacers win one of these two games, I think it's a much different series. And I get injuries are kind of the theme of some of the series, actually all of the series to a degree right now, with what's going on with Kristaps Porzingis, this unknown virus that is really think about this. They have the best medical staffs, access to doctors. So they probably have a better idea of what it is. They just don't want to tell the public, but to be dealing what he's been doing and to sleep so much in IVs and the routines to get on the floor, that changes Boston dramatically in terms of spreading the floor. Grandpa Al Horford, he ain't doing it as much as he used to anymore. So can he get right? You look at Steph Curry. I feel for Steph Curry. That kind of, and I am not a Warriors fan, but I am a Steph Curry fan. You can't be a basketball fan and not respect what Steph Curry is, how he got there. Talk about somebody that didn't get the nepotism rub, right? He went to Davidson, which now he's giving back and volunteering with the program. I love all that. But for him to have this little open window, because the West really does kind of feel open with the exception of Oklahoma City. To him get injured, the hamstring, and for it to be a hamstring, you just don't know. First one of his career in the NBA. Anthony Edwards sprained an ankle last night. So again, injuries. I could go on and on. Cleveland, we know about their big three, all game time decisions tonight. This is a massive game for the Pacers. And I look at the Pacers and I think there's nothing special there. It's nothing particularly special. Yes, Tyrese has come up clutch, but they are all just really good basketball players. They all fit together. It's kind of like the formula, no joke. And this might not make some of you happy because Hallie was a king, but it's kind of like the formula the Kings are trying to push right now, where you don't have that guy because Hallie ain't that guy. He's definitely much more than the most underrated player, according to the players in the anonymous poll that was put out by The Athletic. He's more than that, but he's not that generational guy. Pacers don't have him. They've just got good basketball players, and they've got a hell of a coach in Rick Carlisle. They just hang around. They grind at you. They play quick. When Monty McNair came to Sacramento and he talked about pace, that's what he was talking about, man. That's the type of pace, the cross matches that they create. So you wonder about a team like that, which is going to lead me to the next team that I'm going to talk about in the East. But you wonder if a team can hold up through June playing that style, right? Which leads me to the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau has gotten hammered this entire season about playing his guys too much. Knicks fans all over Mikal Bridges. Where are you at, dude? What are you doing? The guy has made two of the biggest defensive plays in New York history. I was just listening to a national show before I came on the air. I rarely get the chance to listen to Romy anymore, but I had him on in the background. His producer is from New Jersey, New York, and he's talking about the atmosphere out there. And I guess Knicks fans, you take it a little bit too far at times, but the NBA is better when the Knicks are better. It's the same formula that it always worked with the Sacramento Kings. The NBA is better when the Kings are better because it's an interesting fan market. It's just different. You're not the big market like the other cities. You don't have access to the same amount of money. You don't have the same fan base that's national like New York, but there's a sexiness to it. There's like that intrigue. It's almost why I'll tell you, Oklahoma City has caught my eye. Oklahoma City reminds me so much, not the product on the floor, but the fan base. Ever since Durant, Westbrook, Harden, they were in that finals, you just saw that fan base was different. But back to New York, how about Tibbs? He's played these guys so many damn minutes, and it's only made them better. And as you go from here, the schedule gets easier, not with the opponent, but the time off. If the New York Knicks get through to the West or the Eastern Conference Finals, you don't have back-to-backs. You don't have back-to-backs in the playoffs, but even past that, you play every other day in the Eastern Conference Finals, but you get to the finals. Think about the final schedule. It's like the craziest thing ever. It's insane to me how they get like 9 days off between game 1 and game 2. That's only going to benefit teams like that, and that formula has clearly worked. I guess you got to have the right players with the right mindset. And maybe the right Pope. He graduated from Villanova too. Maybe there's just something to this Knicks and Villanova connection minus Dante DiVincenzo. But that's going to be an interesting watch tomorrow. I cannot remember the last time that you have seen a team like Boston on the ropes, 25 for 100 from beyond the arc in game 1 and game 2. Draymond Green last night, by the way, Draymond Green had this to say.
Look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
What agenda? Are you talking about the agenda from your marketing meetings with your team? I'm not sure the agenda that Draymond Green is referring to. I get Draymond Green. I understand it. In a way, I was a little bit of a Draymond Green on the basketball court. I was an agitator. It used to be part of my game to get under your skin, not with the trash talking, but just the little stuff that wears on you. And it was never anything dirty. So I get, and obviously I'm not as good as Draymond Green. I never played the NBA. It was a much different level, but you have to have played that way to understand a player like that, or you have to really get the game and appreciate the nuances within it. So I get Draymond Green and why he plays the way he does. There is no agenda about you being angry. There's a difference between anger management and angry. There's a difference between having outbursts and constantly being angry. I mean, Dennis, Draymond's not angry. Isn't that part of his brand? I guess you can be angry on the court. Isn't that something that's not necessarily a bad thing? You just have to be able to control it. I would say he has an anger management problem. Yeah. Ask Jerry about those days. I'm sure he could find some film of old Rhino getting under somebody's
Tristan,
skin.
pay attention.
Yeah, come on, Tristan.
Come on.
See, Dennis, yes, I played physical too because I wasn't the most athletic. Yeah, it's just and Draymond, by the way, I got to say, dude has had a postseason defensively. Respect, Draymond. I got you, bro. Yeah! I've got mad respect for the defense that he has continued to play at his age. But some of these things that are happening, coming from somebody that thinks I know what he's basing his game around, or at least you got a pretty good sample size from the stomp to Domas's chest, to the flailing elbows, to the Nurkic knockout backhand. It looked like something from the UFC, right? Like, those are all things that come because you can't control it once it passes a certain line. So you can have a difference between being angry all the time and not being able to manage your temper. And that's what it is. That's what Draymond's product is. So if that is what he's talking about in this insane quote after the game, now I do have to acknowledge the other side of it as well.
Look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
Again, Draymond, that's coming from you, my man. That's coming from your team. You were the one at the All-Star game that was a guest panelist trashing the All-Star game. This has nothing. Yeah, Dre's a real church boy. This has nothing to do with you off the court, my man. You present a certain way. People have brands. That's your brand. You can't walk up to Draymond. If there's a line in the sand and I say don't cross it, the second I turn my back, you are going to be biting your nails. You're going to be pulling at your hair because you want to put your toe over that line. You can't keep your toe beyond that line. That doesn't mean that you're an angry person. Now, on the flip side, there was a fan ejected last night for using some type of racial term. Good job by the security there. No place for it in the game. No place for it at all, which transitions me to this. Tyrese Halliburton received a warning, and I know some of this is retread because I have not been here for a couple of days, but I have thoughts on it. So Tyrese hits this dagger in game 2. They go up 2-0 on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are heavily favorited out of the Eastern Conference and in comeback style too. Like, insane the way that they did it. And he lets it out. He celebrates with something that, quite frankly, I didn't even take a second look at. Okay, great. How many times have we seen that in sports? How many times do we see that in sports, right? And so I'm thinking to myself, the NBA really had to sit there to think about and then issue a warning to Tyrese Halliburton, making that gesture that Tyrese is making. That's so bad for the league image. That's awful. How could Tyrese do that? Tyrese, we know it's out of character for you. We understand it's a big moment, but we still have to give you a warning for doing that. Huh. Interesting. Well, why don't we dig a little bit deeper? Has anybody ever sat close to the court? I mean this, whether it's at a Kings game, whether it's at a G League game, hell, even a college basketball game. Have you ever sat close to the court? Have you ever gotten a sample of the language that is going on back and forth between the players and the refs? And I get Tony Brothers has a little bit of a short leash for that. Funny thing about Tony Brothers, the referee, he wanted to be, he doesn't even like basketball, apparently. I'm serious. He does not like basketball, but he wanted to be an attorney. He never got to be an attorney. So this is the middle ground. He's basically a judge on the basketball court. So it works. But getting back to the language, getting back to the NBA and their problems, here's your list of recent fines. Some you may know of, some you may not know of. Anthony Edwards in April was fined $50,000 for directing inappropriate language and making an obscene gesture towards a fan. Ja Morant, what would he have done to get fined? Help me out. Is there something that Ja Morant? I mean, no. He didn't get fined for missing too many threes. Oh, I know. Firearms. Commissioner Silver has sat this guy down twice in his office. Twice. With one suspension that was indefinitely. This guy just 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, not only did a firearm symbol, but then when he got in trouble for it, he doubled down with another one the next night. So he gets $25,000. $25,000. Here's my point. Adam Silver, you are wasting your time and spinning your wheels trying to maintain this reputation that we're not going to allow that in the NBA. You can't do that, even though there's at any given time a handful of knuckleheads that have paid $19 for their light beers, $40 for a mixed cocktail that's like kind of a double, but not really a double because the bartender uses the jiggers thing, right? And you're like looking at it and they're like measuring it right to the exact level, not giving you a drop extra. Paid $40 for one of those that is saying nasty things, making gestures. Sometimes it can be fun, like in the case of the Lakers and the Thunder. Luka had gotten into it earlier in the season and actually last year in the postseason with a fan that's a tattoo artist in Oklahoma City. Yeah, tattoo artist sitting courtside. Good for him. By the way, bad parenting. Let me interject really quick. Awful parenting. If you're taking your kids in to get tattoos that aren't 18, I heard somebody talk about that this week. Like, there's not parents doing that, taking their kids into the tattoo shop. Like, I always thought, like, if I see somebody that's younger than 18 with tats, they're either emancipated or there's a tattoo artist in the family, or they're doing it themselves. But parents taking their kids in to get inked up before 18? Anyways, see, I'm getting sidetracked. Luka and this guy, they have a good back and forth, right? They just, it's fun. It's whatever. It gets Luka going. It's part of his game. What ends up happening this postseason? Luka gets his ass thrown out of the game because the ref thought Luka was talking to him and not the fan. But here's my point about that. Luka said something bad enough to that fan that it immediately triggered an ejection. Gone. Magic words. Anytime the refs hear it, you're gone. That's going on a nightly basis. So that is the point, the setting that I am trying to set up for you. Adam Silver, how about you worry less about Tyrese Halliburton and his boulders, and you worry a little bit more about the language and just the crying, the delaying of the game between players and refs, going back and forth. The things that are coming out of their mouths, that TV, okay, I'll throw it to you this way. I love Malik Monk. Love Malik Monk. How many times did you hear Malik Monk say "Gee damn" this season going to the hoop? Like almost every time. And don't act like the mic didn't catch it loud and clear, because it did. We heard it so many times. And that is just a small little appetizer of the other things that those mics pick up. So if you're going to start finding dudes for doing a celebration like that, John Morant, I get. He should have got more than $25,000, way more than 25. But there are so many more things that are detrimental, and I'm not even talking about the game. I'm not talking about threes. I'm not talking about styles. I am literally talking about the things within and around the game that are so much more detrimental and worse to this game, like Draymond Green stomping on people. And Adam Silver, you are partially responsible because you have put the refs in an impossible situation. You have turned up the pressure in that arena to 9. Like, when your pressure heater, or you're not your pressure heater, but your pressure cooker, you got to let the air out. Like, you just barely let a little air out when the playoffs happen, right? Family entertainment. You just barely let a little air out because you turned up the physicality. And now you have the refs that have to deal with instant replay, which changes the game for them. They can't call it like they used to call it. Jerry and I both agreed on this show 2 weeks ago that it might be better for the NBA to do completely away with replay and challenges by the coaches. There's an eye in the sky, Secaucus, whatever you want to do, an eye in the sky that in the final 2 minutes of the game will buzz down if something was missed. And it's immediately overturned. There's no pulling up the screens. There's none of that. Because you've got to move the game along. So I'm not even talking about that kind of stuff. I am literally talking about the interactions that are happening between the players, the refs, between the benches, between the fans. That's not okay, man. Like, this is preschool stuff to me compared to, I learn new bad words every time I go to a basketball game. Let's put it that way. And I'm not knocking these guys for cussing, but what I am saying, it's really excessive. It's really excessive. And I would be a hypocrite. I would be an absolute hypocrite to not sit here and say some of those words are not racially empathetic. A decent amount of those words. So, Adam, man, look, I'm not asking you to march out a bunch of perfectly well-behaved NBA players. I like the human element to basketball. The human element's what we love about sports. It's what makes it interesting. Jerry Reynolds has always said the best NBA games and the best NBA teams are with teams that have an identity or a personality. Like the 2002 Kings. I hate to go back to them, but they were a family, right? Like you knew what you were getting with them. You mess with one, you mess with all. Adam, dude, you can't come at Tyrese like that, even with a warning. That just bugs the heck out of me. So anyways, thanks for being here on a Friday. I still got a big question that I want to ask y'all about the Kings. Let's get back to the chat. Check in with you all. Also got some audio from Buddy Hield and Jimmy Butler that I want to get to here in a few minutes. Is it practice? Dennis, like Guinness. Oh, we're doing beer talk. Like Guinness is way out of my range, but I don't mind a blonde or a red. Those are like two different worlds. You know who does get a little bit annoying these days? I'm sorry. I'm going to alienate some people here. My bad in advance. IPA guy can be a little too much sometimes. I get the IPA lifestyle, better bang for your buck, more options. But man, some of you IPAers, you treat those things like they're a 2001 bottle of Silver Oak Cab. It's a beer. And no, just because you drink IPA, that does not make you better than everybody else. And no, you don't know it.
Because here at Globo Gym, we're better than you. And we know it.
So much talk about beer. How can you drink Guinness? All right, so we're talking sports, and this is what we get to. Yeah, thanks for keeping us on track. I know that I put that up once. We're not talking about practice. Out of all the drops, that's the one I don't have. I have got to get that one. And I'm with you, Rhino. Keep it coming, man. Appreciate it. I have hired 14 young men under 25 in the past. They have horrible work ethic, no manners. That's not my job attitude. Manuel, I don't know how old you are, but those 25ers, got to remember this, man. They did like half their high school online during COVID. They saw people getting paid to stay home, getting paid better to stay home than work. Don't lose hope. There's some good ones out there. How do you vet that, man? What do you do for a living? Sorry, I'm getting off the topic, off the clock, Patrick. Okay, so Patrick, if the Knicks, and by the way, the cheapest ticket to get into that building, $700 tomorrow at MSG. But Patrick, if y'all win tomorrow, do you think season's over? Like, your series is over? Is it done? If you win tomorrow? Curious. Oh, this is how it got started. Yeah. Hey, Simone, do you also have Outback Steakhouses? Do you know what a blooming onion is? Foster's? Come on. Who asked about Foster's? Of course, Dennis asked about Foster's. What is with Americans and light beer? Okay, well, what's considered not light beer over there? Simon, what is considered not light beer? BJ, what's up, dude? The man is on the clock. Have a 15-minute break. Thought I'd see what's up with the best chat ever. What's up, Beach? Appreciate you. That's a shout out to all of you. That ain't a shout out to me. That's a shout out to all of you. Oh, by the way, I was on another airplane. You would have thought that the universe was going to spit back at me for my 20 or 30-minute grievance about my last airplane trip. It couldn't have gone better. It was like half booked flight, middle seat, unoccupied, best flight ever. Thank you, universe. So good. So good and so quick. You have a problem with Steph Curry can't calm you down. Yeah, he's going to. And hey, Mark, this is from a Warriors fan. And so I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I have heard that about Steph. Like, dude, well said. But here's the other thing. I've been on this show, and Mark, you're a Warriors fan, so chime in. I've been on this show and I've asked Jerry, is a Draymond Green worth the trouble come this time of year? And he says yes. I mean, I just, for Draymond to spout off like that, it just, you know what it feels like to me? It feels like to me, it's like WWE booking. That's why I asked if it was coming from Draymond's creative staff. Is this another one of those things? Because he does a podcast right now, and I'm not going to disrespect his grind, but come on, man. Like, who are you talking to? You just walk off like that? Now watch, he's not going to say anything until his next episode of the podcast. Like, it was just so random, incredibly random. It's like 90 out here, just guzzled a keg of Fosters. I take Foster's and some Outback Steakhouse. Yeah, dude, got a better idea for you, Dennis. You already know this. You should have known this. You were one of the originals. In fact, Dennis, I think you've been to all three of them, man. Dennis, you don't need Outback and a Foster's. Brother, you need Bennett's and the short rib egg rolls, my man. Or the short rib flautas. My bad. Can't believe I disrespected the flautas by calling them egg rolls. Go get to Bennett's happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. Go, Dennis, you got 2 hours, 40 minutes. Roseville, Rockland, Howe and Fair Oaks, prime cuts, seafood and steak. Mother's Day this weekend. Did you get your reservation? If you haven't, you better get to Bennett'sRestaurants.com right now and see if you can get one. They are doing Mother's Day brunch. They do it so great. And by the way, brunch is every weekend, 11 to 2 p.m. at all three locations. If you can't make it in for brunch on the weekends, don't worry. They still got a nighttime special. They've got the prime rib going Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Warning, gonna make some of you hungry. Gonna make myself hungry. Go check them out. Love Brian. Love the staff. Way better than Outback. Better prices too, Dennis. Much better. Shout out to Brian and Margot and the entire team over at Bennett for sponsoring today's episode of The King's Court. That is Bennett's, Roseville, Rockland, Howe and Fair Oaks, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Go show them some love. All right, back to the chat. And then I'm going to ask you my Kings question. Still got that Kings question. He doesn't know when to stop. And the Warriors need his defense. Well, that's the thing. There's a difference. Like, am I wrong here? There is a difference between being an angry, negative, pessimistic person and not being able to control your anger. There's a line there for me. Makes sense. I know people that are smilers, like kind of the awkward smiler, where they're just always smiling in situations where they shouldn't be smiling. But anyways, I'm getting way too off track today. I know people like that, and then on a flip of a dime, you don't know what it is, but something just it sets them off. Or if you get to that place, you're not able to get out of that place without releasing that aggression in some way or form, whether it's at another person, whether it's striking a wall, whether it's turning Jordan Poole inside out. Like, it's got to come out for you to get better. That's what I think Draymond has. I mean, the organization, you stick with him through all this. He's not angry. He's frustrated. They lost. No. But okay. All right. If you didn't hear it, here's Draymond Green after the game.
I look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family. And I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
And who brought your family into it? Who brought your education into it? I think they were just talking about your antics on the court. And now you bring all these other elements that are like core to us, reasons to go, your family. Like, they didn't say anything about that, Draymond. Crazy. I believe we are due. Why not us? Why can't we get lucky and get a top 4 draft pick? Dennis, did you not learn your lesson with Grant? I'm not going to entertain it, man. It's a 4% chance. I'm going to go back to Grant's example, Dennis. I hope it happens. Why not the Kings? Why not? But my man, how would you be feeling about tomorrow if the doctor said you have a 4% chance of waking up. That is Grant's example, not mine. That's Grant's, not mine. Yeah, I'll see if we can possibly do that. Dave's been on with me before. That was a lot, and that was in my early days, though. Love Dave, great dude. I keep missing him, by the way. It's like there'll be these situations where I'm like, all right, you know what? Dave would love, Dave would love to go to this game, do this. And I'm either asking too late or he's always got a plan. Busy guy. You know, he's grinding. He was so important, him and Grant, to the Kings being here. I mean, they were really your microphone. They were your megaphone to spread your message. They gave you a platform. But yeah, he's doing a lot too with that soccer team. I don't know everything about that, but we will see. Truth is, they did not make him look like anything. He makes himself look the way he does. Hello. It's an incredible.
Acknowledge me.
It's an incredible point. And it's not like he's sitting up at the podium or he's getting dressed at his locker and somebody's putting a mic in his face. They're not.
I'm wondering if you could stick a mic in somebody's face and see what they have to say.
It was in a one-on-one conversation with Anthony Slater. He's getting a lot of heat, but you got to understand, I think that he is the type of player that, especially now in the finals, if you are in the playoffs, if you have already exceeded your technicals for the season, you get 2 technicals, and then in the postseason, and then it's a suspension for a game. So now he has 1. Like, that's part of the game plan. It's to get under his skin. As much as he thinks he's going to get under yours, teams get under his. Like, when you play that, you know what? That is that's the disconnecting part about this. Because usually when you're that type of player, you notice that. You can decipher that line. Oh, they're just trying to get me. They're trying to hook me. Like, you get those little things and you don't go to their level. But the difference with him is he doesn't see those things. He's got blinders on and he will immediately go to that level and put his team in a bad situation. It's crazy. Now, Buddy Hield put his team in a different situation in game 1.
We haven't done that yet. That's true. Draymond declared that tonight Jimmy became Batman and Buddy went from Alfred to Robin. Do you guys have any comments on that declaration?
No. I'll start out.
No. I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.
All right. Well, I'm still Robin, yes. And Steph's still Batman. And Buttered is still who he is.
I mean, Buttered.
But he had another good game, man. Except for that stupid thing you did at the beginning of the game, you have on the right shorts. It's not real Robin and or Batman like.
Buddy, what happened with the wardrobe malfunction? Jimmy switched it out. It was Jimmy's fault. Okay. Jimmy switched it out, and that's what happens. I was looking for my shorts, and I thought it was right. When he said, "Yo, put these on," this is right, and that was good.
That's what you're going with.
Yeah, I'm going. Jimmy's fault. His locker is next to my locker. I was looking at my shorts. He's like, "Yo, why can't I have my shorts?" Oh, I see there. And I put them on, and it looked just alike. And after that, I got fined for it. So it's cool. It was Jimmy's fault. Blame Jimmy.
Classic Buddy Hield. It was somebody else's fault. I am not a Buddy Hield guy, especially after he made that comment last season about the fans or about Sacramento. Not going to rehash it. You can go look it up. It was at a shoot around. They were in town. Or no, they were getting ready to come to town. It was like a week out. And that is literally Buddy for you. Like, that's... How do I put this politely? I don't always know what's operating between his 2 ears. Like the line with Buddy joking and then like really putting it off on somebody else is kind of blurry, like Draymond's
It
line.
was Jimmy's fault.
It's Jimmy's fault. No, it wasn't Jimmy's fault. But I will say this. That's a really easy mistake for those guys to do. That is a very simple mistake. There's so much gear that looks so similar that's floating around. I know there's only supposed to be certain things in the locker that the equipment managers put there on game day, but that is not a hard thing to do. I can't get down on Buddy for having the wrong shorts on. I can get down on him on a lot of other things, like looking human last night, but I can't get him on him for the shorts. Just can't do it. Go to a game early. If you watch the guys warm up, they're almost never wearing their game shorts. They're wearing different shorts. They're wearing sweats that are cut off. They're doing all of that. Let's see. He led the league. Technology. Oh, we're talking about Draymond, or are we talking about DeMarcus? Fourth pick doesn't guarantee greatness. Good point. Wait, you shaved for SLC, but we get your 48-hour shadow? Yes, you do. You know why? Because I have been all over the place, my man. I got in okay, so I get back to Sacktown last night about 6 o'clock, 6:15-ish. And it wasn't a flight. I drove from Salt Lake City. So I'd been in the car all day. I left at 6:30 Salt Lake City time. And then I was up really early this morning with my son because I had been away from my family. So yes, you get the shadow. And you know what? Salt Lake didn't even get the shave either. It was a couple days before Salt Lake. So it's even, my man. Good eye, though. Are we bringing back any of the unrestricted free agents? Wouldn't be surprised if Trey Lyles, Fultz, McDermott, Crowder are all out of the NBA next year with no jobs. Tay, I said it during the season, especially early in the season when the Kings had some injuries and Lyles was in and out, Monk was hurt. I said, you have a high-level G League bench. So you're exactly right, Tay. I would highly doubt many of them are coming back. In fact, can put this up really quick. You can see what the Kings are working with. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm trying to be as positive as I can with the King situation. I'm giving Scott Perry the benefit of the doubt. I don't blame him for taking the job. I think Grant made a beautiful point. How many of you at his age would take that job despite who you're working for and knowing that you are not really going to be making most of the calls? Because what is Scott Perry's next step? It's not another NBA job. It's retirement. So I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to look past that BJ was his podcast mate. Look, Grant asked last night, what NBA experience does he have? He was an assistant general manager for a period of time under Jerry Krause with the Bulls. And it was not the glory days for the Bulls, obviously. He was playing in those. Assistant GM doesn't mean much. I think it's the move that means the most to me. I think it's the optics of the move. Does it affect things too much? Probably not. In fact, maybe, just maybe, because BJ's an agent. He's younger than Scott. Maybe, just maybe, if something happened with Scott, or what if BJ ends up being able to manage Vivek better than anybody has before? Look, that's what I'm looking through right now, those are the glasses I'm looking through for this Kings team. So with that context, I just don't know how you put a serviceable team on the court with that much turnover and that many holes to fill. Number one, point guard. You've got to fill point guard. And don't forget, too, with this money that the Kings have to work with, you've got Keegan Murray knocking at the door for extension talks. What about Keon Ellis? The team has a very friendly team option on him, but that is a complicated move. There are some back-end considerations that are not necessarily great for the Kings if you pick up that option when it comes to negotiating beyond next year. So we're talking about two guys that are going to want, I think Keon is outplayed his contract. Can anybody disagree with me there? I think it's more than fair for Keon to ask for an extension if he wants to be in Sacramento. So that's two core guys that you might need to spend some money on. Keegan, you can probably put off, but not much longer. If I had to extension talks, if I had to prioritize the two, and it's not because Keon is more important to the Kings, I think you have more to work with when it comes to bringing options to the table with Keegan about how you extend him, when you extend him. I think your timeline is a little bit longer with Keegan. So for that reason, I think getting Keon figured out, or at least trying to do something to extend him, I think that's where you got to look. So we're talking about those two, Tay, and everybody else. So those two might need money. What you're going to get $8 million back from Trey Lyles. I don't think Trey Lyles returns to the Kings, although I do think $8 million is probably fair value. Now, the other thing that I will say here when it comes to the Kings, let's put this graphic back up for you so you can kind of see what they're looking at. Trey Lyles, just, it's just, you've done 3 years of it. You don't, the upside isn't there. The Kings need to have their eyes focused on not somebody that's in their prime right now. They need to be looking beyond that. They need to be looking for the diamonds in the rough. Now, here's the positive thing. I don't think free agency is going to be anything like free agency has been in the past. In fact, last year's free agency was fairly lean. Look at the contract Valanciunas is under. He just signed that in the offseason. 9.9, 10.3, and then 10 million. That's a very fair contract. So there might be some good players out there that you can get, but you have so many roster spots to fill. I just don't know how you're going to do it with what they have. And we're not even talking about it because you don't have the draft pick. I guess that's where the draft pick is important. And the fact that the draft pick would be that important is concerning in its own way, because you shouldn't need to rely on a 12th, 14th pick to come in and play right away and turn your franchise around. I mean, isn't that what failed for the Kings before? Thinking that Thomas Robinson was going to turn this franchise around? I'll give Vlade a pass on Marvin Bagley. I understand the nuance there. Ben McLemore, was he going to turn the franchise around? Nick Stauskas? Like, it's just not going to happen if you are outside. The Kings get a top 4 pick. Who knows? You somehow get the number 1 pick. That's a game changer. Cooper Flagg. Exactly what this team would need. Maybe it frees the team up too to do some other things. Let me get your comments in here because I want to. This is a perfect time to pose the question that I'm going to pose to you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I don't. Dennis, okay. I'm going to give Dennis a little bit of grace here. T-Rob, he's an OG though. I'm going to give Dennis some grace here. Somehow, some way, Dennis threw the spaghetti at the wall, and the 2 noodles that stuck were Zach LaVine and was it Markelle Fultz, Dennis? Were those the 2 that you had wanted? I think that's what happened. So if you're calling this Monk thing, I think that would be one of the worst decisions this team could possibly make. Realistically, if you believe that you're going to shake things up and you can trade somebody, it starts with DeMar DeRozan. That's where it starts. If I'm Scott Perry, if I'm BJ Armstrong, I am hitting up every single team that gets bounced out of the playoffs and did not meet or exceed their expectations. Notice I didn't say that didn't win a championship. Teams that like Houston. Houston thought they could go farther than that. What's Houston need? Their coach just said it in the exit interview. He said we need a 50% three-point shooter and a 90% free throw shooter. I'm looking at those playoffs teams, and those are the ones that I am aggressively talking to about DeMar DeRozan. One, I think it's your most movable piece, most realistic piece to move. But 2, I think it's kind of fair to DeMar. I hate to say that. I get that he's not entitled to anything, but we're talking about a Hall of Fame guy. He was not sold this experience of coming to Sacramento. He was sold something completely different. So what I'm saying is, yeah, DeMar probably wants to start, but if he went to a playoff contender, he would probably be willing to take a 6-man role. And he would be a very high-level 6-man. You know who else is going to be a high-level 6-man? James Harden. After 7 and 9 in his last 2 Game 7s and just atrocious playoff performances for the most part. Somebody's going to type in, he had 22 in 1 Game 7. Yeah, I know he had 22 like once, but I'm looking at 7 and 9 in the last 2. So you've got, if you're the Kings, a ton of holes to fill. Where's it going to come? How are you going to do it? I saw some questions in there. Here's my question to you. And I want to go through the chat. This was the question that I was going to ask you at the beginning of the show. So start putting your answers in the chat or call with your answers. I'll put the link back in the chat again. The question I was going to ask you is, with consideration to next season, okay? Consideration to next season. And also consideration to the amount of money a player makes and where they're at in their career. If this list of Kings on the screen right here, the Kings roster that's under contract or was under contract last year, if we had to draft from this roster, how are you drafting? I think Sabonis is your number one pick, but then I think there's arguments after that. There's no way you can Mars. Yeah, I just don't see them even entertaining it. I don't. In fact, that's what hurt. I think that is where the Kings, their first misstep with the Beam team was extending Sabonis that summer. If that money had gone somewhere else, I think the Kings could have probably weathered some of the injuries they had at the end of the season. Okay. So again, we're not talking about positions. I am literally talking about the players that were on the Kings last year. If we were going to do a draft, this is the only list of players you can draft from for next year's team. What's your draft order? Again, I think Sabonis is number one, but I think it's nuanced after that. You got to think about where they're at in their career. You got to think about what they're making. Well, they have to overpay. That's the thing. Here we go. DG. Domas, Keegan, Keon, Monk, Laravia. Interesting. Simon. Sabonis, Monk, Keegan, Keon, Levine, Devin, JV, and then DeMar. Tristan, Zach, Keegan, and K. Crowder? K. Crowder. Man. I've heard some good things about K. Crowder.
Tristan, pay attention. Pay attention.
Yeah, come on, Tristan.
Come on.
Zach, Keegan, and Crowder. I'm interested to see your number twos, to me, are really what your twos and threes. That's what's so interesting to me. I know I'm going to get a lot of Homer, Keegan Rhino. I know you guys think that I am just a massive Keegan dude and I overvalue him. I don't know. I think in today's NBA, Keegan has to be number two. Where he's at in his career, where he's at with his contract, the fact that you don't know exactly what he is offensively. Dennis, Sabonis, Levine, DeMar, Jonas, Keegan, Keon, Devin. Would have Laravia in there, but he doesn't have a contract yet. They've got to negotiate that one too. It's a good point. Vivek, Perry, Armstrong, and the assistant GM. Yeah, that's who you're drafting. Nice, BJ. I think it's got to be Keegan. I do, because he's the most marketable across the NBA. He's your best defender. It solidifies, or at least is the right step forward to solidifying the front line, which you're seeing is incredibly, incredibly important in the playoffs. I know you got to get to the playoffs, but I just offensively, that's the big unknown for this team. What it's going to look like next year, and I'm not even talking about who they draft at 42, if they get back into the first round, who they sign in free agency. I'm literally talking about the pieces that we know will be here next year. I'm just not sure how they're going to structure this thing offensively. Keegan is a bust. How is he a bust? Mieo? How is he a bust? Same goes for Let's see. Same goes for Keon. DG says, here we go. Roster draft, Keegan is the most versatile player. Young and on a controllable contract only makes sense. Yeah, I'm with you. Keegan is number 2, hands down. You know why? Here's the other question. Keegan Murray fits with every other team in the NBA. There is not another team in the NBA that couldn't use a Keegan Murray that's not turnkey ready. If you want to sit here and say that he's a bust offensively, I'll listen to that argument. I'm going to counter that argument. But you cannot say that Keegan Murray across the board has been a bust. First off, rookie record for made three-pointers during the three-point era. And I'm conceding the offensive bust to you. He is the Kings' defensive captain. The best teams in the NBA switch 1 through 5. Keegan can guard 1 through 5 in situations. Those dudes don't grow on trees. Do you remember what happened defensively every time Keegan was out? Do you remember what the Kings looked like the first game Keegan Murray missed this season against Denver? Remember when DeMar DeRozan had to take Aaron Gordon and Denver just lobbed it over the top 4 times in a row? That's how important Keegan is defensively. So he's not a bust. The best teams have a dude that's that way. Even if they're not as effective on offense. But that's where I go back to how this thing is structured with the coaching staff and what they decide to do on the court and who they decide to feature. Now, number one, first and foremost, Zach LaVine is your dude that you have to feature. It's not a decision. You have to, because you can't just look at Zach LaVine for what he is right now. You also need to look at him as an asset. And if I'm the Sacramento Kings, he is that car on the lot that's super nice, but nobody in your neighborhood can afford it. It's that car that everybody wants, but they're not willing to reach out of their pockets and buy it or can buy it. Now, he's not that nice. You get the analogy here. What I'm saying is you need to make him marketable. You need to make him, or turn that contract, at least give him the opportunity to turn that contract into an asset instead of a liability. So it's got to run through him, but I've got to think Doug Christie, and you really didn't see it the second half of the season. You didn't. And I would argue you saw a more aggressive Keegan Murray. You saw kind of Keegan standing up for himself at times. I got to think Doug features him in some form or fashion too, because you got to know what you have in this young man. And quite frankly, he has never had the opportunity to be that guy. I'm not saying he can be that guy, but he needs to be given the opportunity to get 13 shots a game. You just do. But Zach LaVine, non-negotiable. He's the guy you're featuring. Anybody watching the point guards right now, should we see why Keegan is so valuable? What? Oh, yeah. Playoffs right now. Excuse me. I said point guards. Perry needs to hit up Orlando. Hard to find, and try to get Isaac. Maybe Court. Dude, Corey Joseph was already here. That's what crazy. Do you think the Suns would do Royce O'Neal for Jonas? Why would you do that? You need a point guard, but you're not giving up Valanciunas, because what if that team comes? Okay, 2 things. What if that team that I believe is going to be a niche team Because unlike Keegan Murray, I don't think Domas is a guy that fits with every other team in the NBA. If you get that offer and Domas doesn't like the direction, you got to have a backup plan. You can't assume that you're going to get a backup in return or a big in return. So Jonas is the perfect piece there. I thought he played really well with Sabonis out. And on top of that, look at how friendly the contract is. I would be hesitant. I would try to part with other pieces before I part with Jonas for O'Neal. That's for sure. Now, there were a couple questions about the Stockton Kings and where those guys are at. Here's the thing about the G League, and this came up on Grant's show last night as well. The G League is interesting in this regard. Unless you are a two-way player, you are not under contract with the G League team that you are playing for. You are under contract with the G League, meaning any other team in the NBA, if you're not a two-way player, can come and pick you up and sign you to a two-way deal, which was why bringing back Terrence Davis made no sense whatsoever. And I understand why they didn't elevate Mace, but bringing back Terrence Davis, it was just, what? Why did you not? If you're going to go G League, then at least get somebody that's scoring more than him or can play the point guard role. Instead, they went for that middle guard that's not a point guard, not a scorer. And really, at the end of the day, it's a move that doesn't matter because he wasn't going to play. It was to fill the roster. But back to the Kings in their G League situation. I don't know what they're going to do with some of these guys. I'll give you my evaluation on a few of them. Let's go back to this screen while we're talking about that. Here's my evaluation, and I covered Stockton. I've covered them the last 2 years in depth. I was at every single playoff game. I've been around the team, talked to people in the organization, almost every visit that I'm in Stockton. The G League is a much different game. Grant nailed it last night. If I send you down to the G League, then you better be scoring like 25 or 30 points, like Devin Carter did when he was sent down. That being said, there are certain guys. The question last night was, is there another Keon in the hopper? The short answer is no. Not ready like Keon. Mason Jones. I told you all that when I went to Dallas, Mace was on my flight. Got to talk with him for a little bit. Dude's motivated. Dude is a leader. He's changed his body. He's changed his game. He was the MVP of the G League Finals. And along with Scal, really that the leader on the court. Those two were the leaders on the court for those teams. In fact, if you're not familiar with the audio, I got to reset this. This is some of the best audio of the year, hands down. So the Stockton Kings started calling Mace Mike Ditka. Here's your context.
We won the game, but we made history. Mike Ditka, talk to him. That's the biggest thing, man. That's the biggest thing. They call me Mike Ditka. Ditka. Hey, hold on. Let me get y'all reason. Hey, they call me Mike Ditka. Yes, sir. Because I push them hard every day. Yeah. And some days they'll fight me back. Some days they'll be like, why you on me so hard? Because times like this. Yeah. And now, I was on IC ass all year. Yeah. He come through the last 2 games. Yeah. I was on TT ass all year. He came through all year. I was on Dick's ass all year. That came through all year. And what are we on? We champs. Let's go on.
Such great audio. So Mace is showing out. His game has changed dramatically between last year and this year. And it's been in one area, scoring. He can run an offense, but he has turned into a scoring guard. He's motivated. He wants to bring it. Literally, you said a championship in the airport. I'm bringing a championship to Sac. And I respect that mindset. Mace is probably the closest to being ready for the NBA. Now, that doesn't mean ready to impact the Kings. He is the closest. And he's probably taken, and not given, he has taken the attention of the NBA and the scouts that are looking at the G League after this postseason and this year that he had. So Mace is probably the most ready, but he really, from a point guard standpoint, and Mace, man, I know you, I'd love you, brother. So don't take this the wrong way if it gets back to you. I don't know if he's the right type of point guard for the Kings right now. I think he's becoming a little closer to Malik Monk than he would be a true point guard, which isn't a bad thing. Mace is auditioning for every team in the NBA. So outside of Mace, you know about Isaac Jones. He still needs some work. He athletically is NBA body-wise the most ready, hands down. He has the best NBA body out of anybody down there. Terry Taylor, incredible player from this sense. He is awkward. His size is awkward. His game is more of a 4, but he's the size of a 2 or a 3. So he still needs some more time to develop. He probably has, outside of Mace, he has the nicest stroke in Stockton. Hands down. Sweet left-handed stroke. It is pure. Here's the guy that I would keep an eye on. And I don't even know if he's going to be with Stockton next year. But Dexter Dennis, if there was to be, quote unquote, anything along the lines of a Keon story, keep your eye on Dexter Dennis. He is freaky athletic. He's got the body for the guard position. A little bit shorter than what you would want, but his athleticism and his ability to guard and his explosiveness are incredible. So I don't even know if he's going to be back in Sac, but if you're looking for a guy to have a same kind of ascent, that would be the one that I would put my money on. It would be Dexter Dennis. And again, don't know if he's going to be back in Stockton. He was just a G League guy last year. He was not a two-way guy. But Dexter Dennis, man, go watch, look at the playoff run that Dexter Dennis had. He had an incredible playoff run. What am I denying? Rhino in the club? No, I am not in the club. Come on. What's up, horse? I didn't forget about you. I just haven't been looking at the chat. My bad. Appreciate you, dude, for being here. Oh, here we go. All about the flight. On the flight, the Dallas flight, Rhino says to Mason Jones, yo, bro, switch seats with me. I saved you from being suspended. I can't take the couple's PDA. It was on the opposite flight. I know. It was on the flight home. Mace wasn't on that one. I wouldn't do that to Mace. Mace wouldn't do that to me. You can't do that. Oh my gosh. No, it was Terry Taylor that I kept from being suspended. Yeah, Stockton, send the fine money to me. In fact, send half of it to me because he didn't get suspended, but he probably would have if I didn't put my arm out. My arm was soaking wet the rest of the game. Who was with me at that game? Was it Michael with me at that game? It was Michael or no, BJ. Was it you? Club president. No, I am not the club president. Dennis is similar to Keon Ellis Roll. Yeah. And you know what? I would tell you actually. So Dennis is not as long as Keon, but I actually think just raw athleticism. I think Dexter Dennis might be more athletic than Keon when Keon started with the Kings. Now, Dex he's got a different story. Much different story. So, all right, we're going to switch gears for a couple of minutes. We're going to talk we'll talk some Kings with him first, but then we're going to talk some WWE. We do it every Friday, Royal Rumble Friday. We'll finish up with some Kings talk after the WWE segment as well, but can't keep this man waiting too long as my computer starts to freeze up. Let's bring him on. You say his name and he appears. Adam Uso. He's news.
What up?
What up, dude? You're starting to
What's
get
up?
to the horse level where I got to turn you down a little bit.
Just because I was screaming.
Yeah, it's true. Horse screams when he talks.
He does. He talks like this.
Dude, I'm telling you, horses.
I love you, horse.
His voice booms. When he came out here last year, I mean, we have high ceilings in our house, but it was like, I'm like, dude, am I in a chamber with this guy? Like, it just naturally wasn't trying to be loud. It's just like deep and it just comes out. Anyways, what's up, man?
You know what's funny? When he came and visited you at your house, after the stream ended, I was hanging out. I was still on the restream and I could hear you guys talking in your house. And I was like, I listened to it for about 5 minutes. You didn't say anything good about me, so I left. But that was about it.
How did that stay? Oh, I was probably downloading the audio. All right.
Yeah. I think other people have done that.
It happens. It happens. There's some people that do it on purpose, though. we have found some people that like to hang around where we've got to double check after shows to make sure that we're clear. But anyways,
No doubt.
Any thoughts on the Kings and this off season and how things are coming together?
Are they coming together?
Well, I didn't say that like they're coming together, but I said how things are coming together. I mean, you have a front office.
You're talking the front office
coaching
stuff.
staff.
It sounds about par for the course to me.
Yeah. BJ Armstrong, though, that move just, it's like, hey, buddy, come on, dude. I got this seat for you. Come work with me. But I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by him. And I know the assistant GM's not going to do much, not going to make a difference on the court. But I'm intrigued to have a different voice in the building that's not Vivek guy, you know?
Yeah, let's just hope that any one of these people have the testicular fortitude to stand up to Vivek.
Or know how to play the game and maybe play it better.
Yeah, or know anything about basketball. That would be cool.
Time to play the game.
I see what you did there.
You like that? That was pretty good.
Are you ready?
All right. You're wearing your Gunther shirt. You got
Yes, sir.
You got a pay-per-view this weekend.
So soon. What a quick turnaround from WrestleMania. I feel like we need a little more air to breathe. No offense to Pat McAfee, but give us a little bit more than 3 weeks in between WrestleMania and, Backlash, whatever. It's fine. I'll take it.
They usually do quick turnarounds, though, after Mania.
Yeah, 3 weeks. I mean, well, my point being, we went from December and January, kind of had nothing in the PLE, which is fine because, heaven forbid they actually allow their people to go on vacation and visit families during the holiday season. I'm okay with that. But it does feel like a quick turnaround. And no Jey Uso defense feels a little bit weird to me as well. I know we have pretty much all title matches at Backlash, with the exception of Gunther versus Pat. But yeah, it just feels like a quick bounce back.
Well, I think you got the Jey Uso defense on Raw. I think that's what it would have been at Backlash.
And let's start there today. I think I have actually been pleasantly surprised with Jey as a champion for the past 3 weeks. I know it hasn't been a long run, but I've enjoyed what he's done. I think he's cut some of the best promos of his career in the last, month or 2, 4, whatever it's been since we've been waiting for him to fight Gunther. I think he's been able to step it up a little bit. And so that's been cool to see out of Jey, because I don't think he's always the greatest on the mic, but he has done a really good job.
Like it. CM Punk returned. You knew that was going to happen. Probably sets up for some type of tag match. I guess there's still time to maybe make that in between now and Backlash.
Yeah.
All right, let's just get right to it. Pat McAfee. So this is sports related and WWE. He's wrestling, for those that don't know, tomorrow. And I think you nailed your prediction. I think he's going to be just bloodied and just sent on a vacation for a while.
I hope so. Well, yeah. And is he going to go on vacation for a while after this? I don't know. The dude probably needs to take a vacation outside between his, 15 jobs. But yeah, I think Gunther's got to absolutely just destroy Pat McAfee and bury him. He needs to be bloody. He needs to be submitted, not a tap out. And he needs to just go to sleep with blood on his face. That's the only way to redeem Gunther after WrestleMania.
You kind of called this, by the way, about this mean streak. But there was no way, again, that he was going to lose at Mania to Jey Uso. None whatsoever. You have to have that in a very mediocre WrestleMania. The crowd's got to at least have that one big baby face pop, which that was because the other title match, knowing how that was going to end.
Yeah. I still don't know if we got it at WrestleMania with Gunther. Like, I don't know. This dude could be the best heel in this company, and they're doing him no favors. They did him a favor with the Jimmy Uso stuff, and then they totally just pulled the rug out from underneath him after that at WrestleMania. And I think, if you were going to somehow sell that Jey is a submission artist, that he could tap Gunther out, he shouldn't have tapped out. He should have just gone to sleep. But they're still trying to sell that a little bit. They tried it last week or earlier this week with Seth. That was like the first move Jey hit was a sleeper hold on Seth, and they're trying to sell that, but spare me.
Yeah, I think that they ran the IC title. They ran that way too long. They wasted so much there. I think you got to put him on the Cody path, where Cody lost at Mania and he's just going through. Maybe it starts with McAfee where it sets a tone, but now he's going through monsters. You've got to put him strong booking through monsters and then figure out who that next monster is going to be. Perfectly would be like Brock Lesnar, but that dude's not sniffing the company.
Yeah, and I'd say like a Braun Breaker, but I still don't think Braun is on Gunther's level at the heart of it. Gunther hits great promos, in-ring work is awesome, old school style. Tristan's asking the question, how should we handle WWE, or how should WWE handle Gunther's next chapter? Like, you talked about his IC title run being too long. I think it was just right. I loved it. Like, it established him as a dominant force, a bad guy, but they just didn't give him enough mic work in the IC reign for him to be over as a super heel. And so, I don't know. I I think there's so much we could do with Gunther, and I feel like sometimes he's underutilized in a sense of his mic work, and they just didn't do him any favors at WrestleMania.
Allow me to introduce you to the man who is the epitome of efficiency and elegance.
See, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was pointless to have that great of an IC run and then do what they did with them. All right, the other big match, Cena, Orton. I think it's
Who do you got? Who do you got for Gunther, Pat?
Oh, Gunther for sure.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, there's no way you're putting Pat over. Okay, Cena, Orton. I think this one's chalk. It's the perfect time to do it. I wish it would have happened a little bit later, but I know why they're doing it now. Because they're doing it in Orton's hometown. It's going to be... You know what, though? Really quick, side note. You know what's going to be really bad? Is if the European crowds end up being better pops for Orton than Orton's own hometown in St. Louis.
I mean, you and I were there. Orton's pops are huge.
He's over.
Now. He is so over.
Yeah.
People love him. I almost threw up my damn shoulder doing the freaking pose.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He's over. He is definitely
over. I don't, the European crowds, I think they're also trying to prove a point. I think the American crowds we've had, WWE, like we get every show. So we don't maybe cheer as hard as we should, but the European crowds, they're trying to prove a point so that they can get more stuff in the future. And, shout out to them. We could all do a chant. Cool. And jump around. Sorry, Baki. This is Serbia, brother.
So how do you see this one going?
I heard something interesting today that is like maybe Cena just jumps out of the ring and goes for the count out, disqualification. He loses, but he doesn't lose the belt. And what better way to ruin wrestling than something like that? So I could see that happening. I think either way, John retains, whether by win or he loses by DQ, whatever. But I think John walks away with it.
I hope they at least give you a classic, because that, like, for, I guess, my generation, well, because we had the younger stuff, the Hogan, but I mean, like, this, I guess, after the Attitude Era generation, like, I think Orton and Cena probably the greatest rivalry there was.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of criticism I heard, over the majority of their matches. It sounds like they only had one or two really good ones there that stood out, but for the most part, it was kind of diluted and overdone. But, I'm looking forward to this. I think, Randy, maybe he's not in his prime, but I think everyone is so behind Randy that that's what's going to make this match fun.
Yeah, I agree.
Between
100%.
him and Cena.
It's going to be it's going to be a really good scene. All right, my man. I'm sure we'll be talking all weekend.
Hey, we got 3 more matches. Let's pick them real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, here we go. Let's see. We've got Dom Mysterio versus Penta. I'm loving this match.
Dom, 100%.
Yeah, give me Dom. Everyone, we love both of them, but we can't take the title from Dom.
No, you got to keep building Penta up. It'll be some shady way that Dom wins.
Yeah, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Penta's actually lost by pinfall in a one-on-one match yet since his WWE.
Yeah, I don't think he has.
Good point. So that'll be cool. Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. I hate this. I'm not a Becky fan, if I'm being honest with you.
It should be Lyra. But what gives me any reason to think that it will be? Probably Becky.
I know I want Lyra to win so bad, but I think Becky's going to win, and you probably set up some sort of Bailey, Becky, something to make Bailey barely relevant again. Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be a little shallow. Seinfeld. You're a Seinfeld guy, right?
Sure.
Okay. So we do our airing of grievances on Mondays. So, you know, I watch Seinfeld, right? Oh, he has been pinned.
What match was that, Matt?
The Matt Man 98.
But in a solo match. We'll wait on his response. Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. So, of course, I know all the episodes. Lyra Valkyria. Do we have a little bit of the lighting episode going?
Oh, my God. That's exactly where my mind went. Yep. I think we do.
Where it's like,
yeah.
You know?
There's something going on there.
Okay. Just want to check. Next match.
Yep. You're with it. Let's see. We got Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, LA Knight, and Damian Priest.
Priest gets pinned. Fatu wins.
Yeah, I do think Fatu wins. Gosh, I want Drew to win. I don't want him to win this, right? Like, because him and Damian are heavyweight champs. So, you know, I understand why they're going IC, but those two feel out of sorts in this match. I will agree that Jacob wins, but I'm going to say he gets the pin on LA Knight, as much as I hate to say it.
Okay. Here's the thing. If we're headed for a Jacob Fatu solo Sokola match, just drop the title right now. I don't want to see it. Like, this solo stuff, I just solo doesn't do it for me, man.
Okay, he does it a little bit for me, but we haven't seen the guy wrestle in. When's the last time Solo's been in a match? I think, actually, I take that back. I think he was in a tag match.
He looked like the dude that picked me up from the airport. He's got his driver gloves on, his leather jacket, his stupid haircut. Like,
got the Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, just give him the iPad with my last name on it. I wouldn't think twice if I saw him. I don't know. Maybe his time passed in my eyes.
I think he had a moment, and I think other things came up, and the interest in Solo waned, and now we're kind of in this weird purgatory with Solo. But you got to do something with this guy. Like, it was all about the new bloodline, and now we're not even talking about the bloodline.
Well, they're hurt.
Bloodline's dead. I know. Like, Tongaloa's been out with his eye patch or whatever's going.
His eye patch.
You know, that was a short-lived thing. Tama-Tonga, we need some more. Yeah. We need that.
You know what I mean?
Yaramin. All gas, no brakes. But Jacob's the star. We all knew that a year ago or whatever when he joined. And man, he's too good.
I don't think we all knew that. I didn't know that this dude was floating around out there. I would have never built Solo up the way that I did if I knew that guy could be there.
Well, I think as soon as we saw a glimpse of what Jacob was capable of, that's when it was like, oh, Solo, like, you're an afterthought now.
But they brought him in. Like, they booked him so crazy strong and got praised for it. Like, if you knew that dude was out there, hold off. Like, bring him into the bloodline and make him be the one that takes out Roman. Like, that, to me, would have been more reasonable and more realistic. And I would have enjoyed that a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do you do with Jacob Fatu other than put a belt on him because the dude is legit. Everyone loves him. It's a tough situation.
Keep climbing.
Jacob is. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, you go first.
No, you.
No, you hang up first.
Jacob is what they wanted Solo to be, I feel like.
Yes. Well said. Well said. WWE.
Pick a side.
All right, last match.
Didn't we do all 5?
Did we do all of them? All right. They're going to add another match. There's going to be something else. All right.
Yeah,
Jared.
I think the other one is probably Tiffy versus Nia, maybe. Nia has a number 1 contender match tonight against what is it? Naomi? Who is it? I don't know.
Dude, Naomi's spots. Okay, when we were at the
Jade
event,
Cargill versus Nia for number 1 contender.
I think they're building to a Jade Cargill. It's going to take a while. It's going to take till SummerSlam. You're going to get Tiffy and Jade.
Don't rush it. Don't rush it. We don't need that match tomorrow.
I agree.
Build it.
Dude,
okay, I got one last thing for you. I haven't shown you this in real life.
Oh, okay. We're going full screen. Adam card.
We're going full screen. All right. So I've been collecting some cards lately, enough for me to necessitate an entire case. And so I bought a green case, and I was like, you know what? I got to have something that isn't black or gray that everyone has. It's got to stand out. It's a green case. But then I went ahead and had some stickers made for my green case. So when I'm walking around at the card show,
no way,
see me toting the full Money in the Bank briefcase, baby. Let's go.
I thought that you would have bought that. That's crazy.
Well, they do have Money in the Bank briefcases you can buy, but this is like a card case.
That's awesome.
And it was bright green, and I said, you know what? I can do something with that.
There you go, Matt Man coming through. That's why he's the Matt Man.
Thank you, Matty.
Yo, what I was gonna say is, out the door, Naomi, she came up. Her spots in Dallas were so bad. Like, she didn't even touch the person she ran in. It was Jade Cargill that she ran in on.
Yeah.
She was really bad that night. Like, caution, bad, don't watch. This is not how you're supposed to wrestle.
Proceed with caution. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Naomi, I appreciate you, but
I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the effort.
Like she said, she's talking about hanging it up so her and Jim Boy can have some little ones running around, and maybe that's the best. There's a lot of talent. There were a lot of cuts this past week, and maybe come 2026.
I thought they were already expecting.
I don't believe so.
Are you sure? Have you looked at?
I don't know. I haven't put the jelly on her stomach and all that stuff yet.
Oh no! See, you're looking the wrong way. Jimmy looks. I mean, a good 3.5 months pregnant. I'm just saying. I mean, he's got the baby bump going, brother.
Hey, you know what? They don't call him Big Jim for nothing.
They had to put the Big Jim in there.
I love Big Jim.
Wonder if... See, that's the problem. They had to start calling him. As soon as you go from jacked and showing off your tattoos to wrestling with shirts on, there's a problem.
Yeah. I don't know if either one of the Usos were ever just like shredded. They've always kind of had.
There's a difference.
They kind of have the Rikishi.
No, they haven't.
That's their dad. I mean,
I know, but they have
not to that extent. But
they were both built, but not like.
Yeah, they don't show it. They're not lean.
Well, Jay's pretty lean. Well, okay, I see what you're saying. I see the difference.
He doesn't have the Finn Balor 12-pack.
Well, yeah. Stomach. Man, dude. Finn Balor and JD,
Dude, I love JD. He has all the respect after that rib cage shot on the table. That dude is a hero.
Dude, I got nothing wrong with his wrestling. It's hard. WWE. No, it's not about him being tiny, man. It's about him having a big head. Him and Finn, both of them.
I've heard that his head is not as big in real life as it appears on TV. You know, the TV adds 15 pounds.
That don't make no sense.
So you're
It
saying
went straight to his head.
So you're saying those oversized New Era caps weren't made for him?
I mean, that dude's probably
Don't make no sense.
In a fitted.
There's probably
New
not
Era?
size.
He's like a 9.5.
No, he's like Shaq as a teenager calling up like New Era, like, dude, I'm a size 22. Can you get me a pair of shoes? Like,
I don't know. I love JD. Please, can we get Finn out of Judgment Day, or can we blow up Judgment Day, or do something with it? It's been too long.
I hear you.
Even like the spot with Finn and Dom last week. Oh, I'm cleaning up your mess.
Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to say because we got to bounce after this. But with Finn and Bailey, you know who killed both of those characters? Vincent Kennedy McMahon, right? Those were both like characters created by Triple H. So I would somehow circle back to old school Bailey. This role model stuff is weird. Bring out
the hugger.
Bring out the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm dudes. Bring out Izzy, her biggest fan. Go back to that. Same thing with Finn. Somehow bring the demon thing back. Got to do it.
I think I got to disagree with you. I think Bailey is. I think she's on her way out at some point.
Wow. Okay.
Either by choice or not. I don't know. But what do they do with her at this point?
Well, I mean, she's definitely, and to be
fair, there's a lot of people that love her.
Yeah. I mean, AEW will overpay for her like they did Sasha Banks.
100%.
Mercedes Moné. That's what you're gonna hitch your wagon to. That's your cash cow. Now, I'm not talking about her work. I'm not talking about her look. I am strictly talking about the gimmick, the name. Like, come on, man.
Did you see the Javon Evans and Ricochet Twitter beef?
No, we'll have to get to it next week, though. Good teaser.
Out.
Way to tease it, dude. All right, you're out of here.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
Gracias! Our new speed champ, EGA.
New speed champ. That's right.
Let's go. That's our dog.
All right, we'll hit the pay-per-view next week. Appreciate you.
All right. Yes, sir. Love you, dude.
Good segment.
Later.
All right, love you too, brother. Good stuff from Adam. As I keep Adam on the screen. There he goes. The Raw Nitro days. Yeah. You know what? There will probably never be a war like that again. But you know what I'm for? I am for options for the wrestlers. Before there was one place to go. So at least AEW gives them another opportunity, or at least another way to kind of raise their own personal values, because they don't have unions. There's the way that wrestlers are paid is just really weird. So we'll just leave it like that. They're like kind of employees, but kind of not employees. They have things in their contracts that say, oh, well, we might pay for these procedures if we decide to, and we'll give you this thing called a downside guarantee, where if you get hurt, we'll pay you this much, but then we could cut you at any time. Like, I guess if you think NFL contracts are bad, go look at wrestling contracts, because like it is kind of a monopoly, right? Think about some of the hottest wrestlers out there and how little merchandise there is for them. In fact, Adam and I, we were just at an event. Is it 2 or 3 weeks ago now, Adam? There wasn't like a single Randy Orton item. There wasn't a single, like, And the dude's red hot. Why are you not pushing his merch? Like, that's how he makes money too. If the company's making money, he makes money off of it. That's why Jey Uso got the run that he did. Because he got over and then the merch got over. The whole yeet thing. Speaking of yeeting, remember, this man wanted, preferably alive. Preferably. So he can call basketball. I don't know. Be on the channel. If you find him, let us know. Apparently, he's also known as Kate, Kitty, or Smith. Random. Whoever created that graphic didn't do a good job. My goodness. Anyways, fun day to wrap up the week. Thank you. I know we do the wrestling at the end of Fridays. I know it is not for everybody, but there is a large group of you that do enjoy it. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe. There you go. That might happen. Is AEW like the NBA G League? No. AEW is like John, it's like the UFL trying to compete with the UFL trying to compete with the NFL. That's what it is. Really, basically, AEW is a national show that's composed of independent wrestlers of multiple promotions. And AEW is the place that they get put on TV. So it is not the G League. There are guys that go back and forth. Like, you can have it both ways. There's some people in AEW that would be massive stars in WWE. Massive. And then there's people that wouldn't have a job at WWE if they tried to go there from AEW. So it goes both ways. You've got lesser talent and then some really good talent that keeps that promotion rolling. And you know who pocket rolls it is Tony Khan, the son of the Jaguars owner, who's just a goofy kid. He's a goofy kid. Still looking for that neck brace if it's available, Tony. You remember he was the one that wore the neck brace to sell a wrestling storyline at the NFL draft. How you feeling about that if you're getting drafted to that team? Probably not so good. Yeah, JD. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have gone in with him like I did. But anyways, hey, scattered show today. I want to continue this conversation, though. I think it's a good one because I kind of think that it's the way that the Kings are going to have to approach this. It's not the graphic I wanted. Let me get the right graphic up here. I think the Kings are going to have to make some decisions about what's most important with what they have right now. And so that's why I posed the question to all of you. If you're the Kings, or if we were doing a draft on the important, we're doing a draft. We're drafting a team from this roster right here. It's last year's roster. We're drafting a team from this roster, but we are taking into account, it's not every player's first year. We are taking into account what they make and where they're at in their careers. Domas is probably number one across the board. I think we can all agree on that. I think you could make an argument to go against Domas if you really wanted to, but I think that's the solid number one. You got to start around that. To me, Keegan Murray, number two, hands down. Keegan Murray. So I'm with the people that said Keegan Murray. Number three, I'm with you. I think it's Malik Monk. Contracts friendly. I like the upside, explosiveness. And I'm looking at how these guys would fit in across the rest of the NBA too, not just with the Kings, but I'm also putting pieces together that balance each other out. And I'm looking at the cost of the contract. So we do have a high paid guy and we have two guys on relatively good contracts, right? After that, it gets murky. You can go DeRozan, LaVine. I truly think LaVine, as crazy as it sounds, Levine probably is not in my top. He is not in my top 5. He's not. I'm taking into account the fact that no other team would take him at that number. In fact, no other team did take him at that number. He was on the market for a year and a half, almost. Is he going to be able to stay on the court? We'll see. We can get on Monty for certain things, but up until the end, and you know what? I am going to say Pacers are losing. Yeah, we're going to get out here in just a couple seconds. I was going to give you an update there. Pacers down 11 right now, halfway through the third quarter, 19-8. If you're Cleveland, that's what you needed to do to quiet the crowd. Later tonight, you got OKC and Denver. The one thing you can't get on Monty for, because I truly think the Fox deal was a Vivek move, just feels like it. You're seeing it now with the way this is coming together. You can almost see what are Vivek moves or Scott Perry moves because they're one and the same versus what are Doug Christie moves. Do not be fooled. Mike Woodson, I respect what he's done in basketball. That's a Scott Perry hire. In fact, if Scott Perry wasn't fed the coach, like the coach didn't come with the job, Mike Woodson is probably your head coach. That's where Scott would have turned to. So you're seeing these different moves back and forth. Bobby Jackson, Doug Christie move. But Monty, getting back to the point, no, he is out of the picture. But what I'm saying is I like one thing about the way he runs a front office, which the Kings now are stuck in a corner and is not an option. You had fluidity with your assets, with your players. At any point, if something wasn't working, all of your guys were on, with the exception of maybe Sabonis. You could argue maybe he's a little bit overpaid because you have to do that in a small market. You didn't have a bad contract. You didn't. Now you do. So you can't just blow it up. You're kind of stuck in that purgatory. So that's where it gets interesting. So I want to restart this conversation. When we gather again on Monday, we'll be coming at you with a doubleheader most likely on Monday. Mike Woodson, old school. Yeah, he is. Again, I'm just pointing out that it seems very clear. Still wears a suit on the court. Very true. Very true. Look, hey, Patrick had nothing but great things to say about Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson has done a lot to coach 22 years, whether as an assistant or a head coach in the NBA. That's incredible. Coached college ranks, just went through this NIL stuff. But conversely, how many other teams were searching out Mike Woodson as an associate head coach? There's just these really clear ties that go back when Scott Perry was hired. There was the common thread of Detroit between Alvin Gentry, who's still here, Joe Dumars that was here at one time. Common thread, right? Like, what is Vivek's obsession with this Detroit stuff? Mike Woodson won his championship in Detroit as an assistant coach in 2004. Right around the same time, Scott Perry was also in Detroit. And now you've got BJ Armstrong, which I like. I like BJ. I think that's a decent move. I don't have a big problem with it. But it's a Scott Perry move. They were doing a podcast together, right? So I guess what you're seeing, at least for me, you're not seeing everybody working together. You got cliques, which we expected. That's how this owner operates. I just hope they find some success that might be the common ground that brings the two sides together to start working better together and have a common vision. But the way the coaching staff's coming together, it's just nuts. Again, you can get to the right place, but take the wrong route. So you might say to me, Rhino, worked out perfect. Kings won 60 games. They made the right decisions. Yeah, they did. You're right. But still doesn't mean they did it the right way, which means at any time it could be dumped on its head when you've got an owner like Vivek. So a lot to talk about next week. We will get to it. Again, think about it over the weekend. Think about it over the weekend with the drafting. I'm going to come back to it on Monday. Thanks for coming back on a short week here on the King's Court. I was off Wednesday and Thursday. Had a short trip to make to Utah and then come back. So was not going to take the rest of the week off. Of course, I'm going to come spend Friday here with all of you. Don't forget Mike Woodson played on the original Sacramento Kings in 1985. Yeah, but none of those people progressive or none of them. Is Jerry Reynolds in the front office? Jerry Reynolds coached Mike for a year. You know, so I get that there's a tie there to Sacramento. I like that. That's great. I love that. There might be ties to Doug Christie. All I'm saying is I don't think, look at who Doug Christie is filling his staff out with. Reportedly, Darius Sungaila, Bobby Jackson. Do you see kind of the theme there? Younger guys. And I said your associate head coach needs to have NBA coaching experience. In fact, it needs to be the yang to Doug Jing. It needs to be the X's and the O's. It needs to be that. So I'm not saying Mike Woodson is a bad pick. I just don't think Mike Woodson is Doug Christie's pick. Which behind the scenes, if you have a general manager that is now saying, well, you know, I didn't choose the head coach. Kings aren't doing well, but I didn't choose the head coach, Vivek. That was your choice. I would have taken Woodson. He's sitting right there. Chair 2. You see where it gets murky now across the board. So anyways, we will talk about it. Darius Sungaila. Wow. Haven't heard that name in a long time. You know, you know what's funny? We'll wrap up here. Mike Bibby. I think Mike beat Doug to some people that Doug would have liked to have around this staff, because Mike went a similar route with some of the training staff. He brought in some of the Darius Sungaila when I used to work out with Al Biacani, who was the King's strength and conditioning coach. I've told the stories here also with Mike. Mike brought him in as their strength and conditioning coach. So I think Doug and him were thinking similar in certain places. Doug probably would have brought Al back had Al been available. Hell, maybe Al still is available. Maybe he can do Sac State and the Kings at the same time. All right, we're out of here. Again, Wanted. If you find him, let us know. Thanks for coming back. Have a great weekend. We're back Monday, 3 p.m. Monday, 3 p.m. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, we would greatly appreciate it. You'll know when we go live. I am off to go hand out food. We're doing some charity work tonight. It's going to be nice. Do something nice for somebody. Goes a long way. Be nice to somebody. Be safe. Can't wait to see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Go Kings. Light the beam. Court's dismissed.